What are some things that you can do in your everyday life to show the love of Jesus Christ to your child? We're going to talk about it in this video. Hey guys, what's going on? It's Travis, aka Dad, here from DadDoneRight, here to help you elevate your game so you can crush it at being a parent through my family vlogs, which I show my journey as a Christian parent, as well as tips, hacks, and recommendations on different areas of parenting through videos just like this one. So if you're new, consider joining the DadDoneRight family and subscribing. When you're a Christian and you become a parent, you obviously want to start sharing your values with your child. And that's true of any parent, but especially of us Christians, we want to start to share the love of Jesus with our children. Now, when we have little children, that can be a little bit more difficult because obviously there's a little bit of a barrier because of how young they are. So what are some things that you can do to help guide them into a relationship with Jesus? Now, before I get into the actual practical activities that you can do to help incorporate your faith into your family life with your new children, I'm going to talk a little bit about the mindset that is required and just your personal identity. Because I think that is a huge part of making the rest of it be successful. But now, what I mean by this is actually quite simple. It just means to live out your faith as a parent. Now, in the Bible, there's a lot of scripture that talks about reaping what you sow. I'm going to read you a verse from 2 Corinthians. 2 Corinthians 9 verse 6 says, "The point is this, whoever sows sparingly will also reap sparingly, and whoever sows bountifully will also reap bountifully." So when you're a Christian parent trying to figure out how to share Jesus with your family, you have to look inward and sow seeds of faith into the fabric of your family. So you have to look at yourself and say, what am I sowing into this family? You may be thinking, well, I'm a Christian already, so I'm sowing Jesus Christ. That's why I'm watching this video. I want to sow him into the family. Yes. But there's a lot of different ways that you can do that. And there's also a lot of different ways that even as a Christian that we can actually be counterproductive into revealing Jesus and his love in our family. If you want values such as, honesty, integrity, love, kindness, and not pushing people down, not saying mean words, not using profane language. If you want to see those values instilled, then you have to live out those values and be sowing the seeds of those values into the relationships of your family and your children. Because if you're using that language and if you're doing those things, you're asking them to do something different than what you're teaching. If you want to instill values in your children that reflect the nature of Jesus Christ, you have to be the example and live it first. Now, having said all that, and you're already living your faith, you're already a Christian, you're already following Jesus, and you're super pumped about it, and you want your kids to love Jesus too, and you're looking for things that you can do with them on a day-to-day basis that help reflect the nature of Jesus Christ, these are what I would recommend for you. So number one, prayer. Prayer is huge. Prayer can be done before meals, before bedtime. Establish a routine of when you're praying with your little one. Because once they've established that this is a consistency that they're going to do every single meal, every single night before bed, once that starts to make sense, they can start to initiate and engage and do it on their own, and you can start to explain why it is that this routine that they've been doing for so long is actually happening. Number two is patience. Patience is by far one of the most important things that you'll need to learn as a new parent. You may not be a patient person now, and that's okay, but if you're a Christian, this is probably something you want to be working on anyway, but as a parent, you're going to have to learn at least some degree of patience. And kids will stress you out a little bit, and there's going to be times where they try that patience. But especially when they're little, Patience is something really, really important because it's an opportunity to say, hey, I understand what you're feeling. Acknowledge what they're going through, how they feel about something. Okay, it seems like you're mad. Okay, so is this upsetting you? Okay, well, then you can explain what we should do and why that you're going to do it and prevent the situation from escalating further. Sometimes a soft spoken response is the best answer, even if it's not really an answer at all. Number 3 is read Bible stories and maybe sing some Bible songs. Those are great ways to start to sew in just like this element of faith in what they're singing about and what they're reading and the stories and things that they're hearing. Those are really, really great ways to establish another routine similar to prayer that they can, if they are old enough, engage in and start to do on their own, or if they're younger like my son, where he's just kind of getting to the point where he likes being read to, but he has no idea what's going on. These are still things that I can establish this routine of teaching him about Jesus and these things through these stories, that when he gets older, then I can explain why it is that we do those stories and why it is that I sing those songs. And it's also a great way to just equip them with the basic fundamental knowledges of the gospel. And this is actually a great segue into my 4th point, which is, what kind of music are you listening to? Which therefore means, what kind of music are they listening to? There's an argument out there that, okay, well, they don't really know what's going on yet. They're too young. They don't know what any of these words mean. So it doesn't really matter what I listen to. They may not understand what those words mean, but you're sewing into a style of music that they could potentially be like, that's what I grew up listening to. That's what I'm going to do now. Those are the kind of words I grew up listening to. I didn't know what they meant. Therefore, I'm going to use them now. It kind of goes back to that, what kind of seeds are you sowing? Because you're sowing seeds of, I don't want them to listen to this kind of music or use these kind of words, but I'm going to do it myself, and I'm going to plant this, but I'm expecting something else to grow. And that's just the way I look at it. So I would encourage you to not necessarily you have to go out and buy children's CDs with children's Bible songs on them, but if you want to, that's a great idea. They're not that expensive. Things like that aren't that expensive, and they're very easy to come by, and you could probably go to a church and get some of that stuff for free. But you can also find radio stations like K-Love. They have wholesome, family, good music that has great, encouraging lyrics and messages about God. And if these are things that you want your kids to inherit and understand, play the things that are going to help get them there. Even if they're not quite old enough to understand that yet, let them grow up having it, not having to find it. My 5th and final point is going to tie kind of back into that second point, which was patience, and be a kind of a second layer on top of that. And so it's basically, instead of saying no or don't do that, it's finding a way to redirect them and guide them into what you actually want them to be doing. So if they're being mean, say kind words. Or instead of don't run, no, say walking feet. Something like that. Or if they're pushing somebody, say gentle hands. Teach them phrases that are very basic, but also shows them a calm nature on your part and doesn't make the situation escalate any further. When you think about it, this is something that every parent should probably do if they want to try and just communicate with their children. But when you think about it from a Christian standpoint, Jesus was such an incredible teacher, and often he would find himself in a position where he had to rebuke someone or he had to stop something that was happening. But he found ways to redirect people. He would say, hey, that is wrong, but instead do this. And he explained those things to the people, and he guided the disciples in his teachings. So, in the same way, we can reflect that Christ-like manner into our families and into our raising of our children by using basic terminology to help guide them into a different path. Alright guys, those were my insights on how to be a Christian parent. If you liked them, you have questions, you have other things that you think I could do in future videos, please comment those ideas down below. We would love to read your comments. They're awesome. And I hope these tips help you out so you can elevate your game and keep crushing it as a parent. We will see you guys in the next video. Please comment, like, and subscribe for more videos just like this. Peace. Whoopah!